Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Brighton Area Schools Board of Education meeting. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, roll call, please.
Mr. Trombley. Mr. Storm.
Present.
Mr. Conley.
Present.
Mrs. Marks.
Here.
Dr. Krebs.
Here.
Ms. Reed.
Here.
Mr. Myers.
Here. All right, that moves us to the approval of the agenda. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda as presented? Moved by Dr. Krebs, support by Ms. Reed. Any discussion?
I would like to make a quick amendment motion. It looks like we left off our normal spot for the board committee reports. And so I'd like to move that we add the committee reports as item 9.
Motion to amend. Any support? Support by Mr. Conley. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor of approving the agenda as amended, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? That passes 7-0. All right, that moves us to the superintendent report, Dr. Elwell.
All right, so I'm going to start us off and call forward Tyler Langley.
Hi, guys. Happy to be here on my day off, but we'll just get right into it. Class council, freshman class council had a bake sale. They raised over $1,400. And they just sent out thank you cards to the businesses that helped them. They also began planning for the incoming freshman assembly, which is a pretty awesome assembly. I think they started that last year just to get the incoming freshmen excited to be here at Brighton High School. So the junior class, they are happy to announce that the prom theme will be the Roaring 20s this year, and that staff for student basketball will be junior versus senior this year, and that will be taking place on April 24th. Senior class council, they just had a 3v3 basketball tournament last Wednesday. It was a huge turnout, a lot of fun, I was told, and it raised over $1,000 towards our graduation. They also just filmed an informative video for seniors with important dates and events, and are organizing a new event this year, which is the senior walk through elementary schools, which will allow seniors to go walk at the elementary school they went to and just kind of reminisce and remember all those memories from where they started at Brighton. NHS is ramping up for Senior Survivor. They've picked 9 different Survivor teams and are beginning to plan induction while also adding onto their thousands of hours of community service. Leadership, we began breaking into our spring committees. So the spring committees include a class/student lesson committee, a speaker committee, which involves having people from the community coming in to speak to us about different their experiences in leadership, and it's pretty cool and awesome experience. School spirit, which is always something we're working hard to create the best school spirit we can possibly have, as well as teacher appreciation, senior survivors assembly, and the LipDub committee, which is a really big committee. And then we just recently met with Brighton's Rotary to tell them what Brighton's leadership class is all about, and to maybe work with their resources next year and kind of pool some ideas together. Brighton Musical is going on right now. They're performing High School Musical on stage. I went to see it last night. It was awesome. They still have 3 shows, so make sure to check it out. Friday at 7, Saturday at 7, and Sunday at 1. You can visit brightonmusical.com for tickets and more info. And then some shout out to the BHS Athletics. We had 3 individual state champions this year. Sabrina Noss, Zach Knapp, and Luke Newcomb. And then we also were runners-up in hockey. And spring sports started today, which I'm super excited about. So track and field, boys golf, baseball and softball, girls tennis, lacrosse, and rugby all started today or tomorrow. So we got tryouts and for track and field, some hard running. So Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Tyler.
Thank you, Tyler. Appreciate you being here, and thanks for all that the leadership class does. I always sing their praises, but this group is amazing, and the stuff that they do goes beyond what you see up here. So they really make an impact on the school. So thanks, Tyler. Appreciate you being here tonight. Give me one moment here, if you don't mind. Okay. So I'm gonna follow up. Actually, Tyler talked about some of the things we're gonna mention tonight. So I appreciate him doing that. Wanted to do a little bit of a report for everybody, just on some of the progress, some of the things that we're working on, administration, teachers across the district. Touch on a couple of those, and then I want to touch on a couple of the topics that we're hoping to have a chance to talk with the board about in the month of April. I want to talk about the strategic plan, a little bit of our planning for 24-25. Again, some of those topics for the board, and then I was going to mention some of the upcoming events that are on the docket. So let me go back one here. So first off, the strategic plan. We're in the second year of our strategic planning work, and I know we've had a number of updates on little components of that, but I want to let you know that that continues to drive us as a district, and we're doing a lot of work in this area. There's basically 5 components of the strategic plan survey. 1, curriculum, instruction, assessment, intervention, and culture. Those are the big 5 areas of our strategic plan. Within that, we kind of set some targets for this school year. There's many things that are going on beyond what's on this list here, but these are some of the areas that we said were going to be the highest priorities for us as we went into this school year. The work that Dr. Mosier, Kim Hubert, many teachers across the district, the coaches, others that they're doing with the core curriculum, where they're reviewing core curriculum in a variety of areas, is work that we don't see every single day, but it's incredibly important for the foundation of our school district. So I want to compliment Dr. Mosier and team and thank all of the teachers that have been a part of that work. If I'm correct on this, that we're going to have over 20 curriculums that have been revised and will be posted for the community this summer before we start the next school year. So some great work going on there. We also know a lot about our Career Awareness and Preparation Committee, subcommittee that's a spinoff of this group. We have parent volunteers on that, staff, we have students. Tyler's actually one of our students that's on that committee. And you've seen the fruits of that labor. We have things, the career weeks at the elementary school. We have some of the career preparation activities going on. We have lunch and learns. We have speakers going. The work is going well, and I just want to thank that committee as well. The next one is we call it tiered intervention, the multi-tiered system of supports. And what this is, it's creating the systems that will help to use data to ensure that our students are as successful as possible here in the Brighton area schools. And this is one that was led by Chelsea Boyd last year, and this year Cody Alexander is leading that charge, but there are many teachers, counselors, psychologists that are part of the work that's going on there. Everybody is part of this. And ultimately, the goal of this is to ensure systemically that we're ensuring the success of each student in the Brighton area school. So again, congratulations to that team. And then our final area of our major focus areas is around culture. And as we know, we've been talking about relationships, wellness, and mindset. Those are 3 big areas within culture that we've been talking about. And our parents and our students have seen a lot of that work has been showing up in the huddles, the houses, the advisories, and that work continues today. The last thing I wanted to mention about strategic plan is that we've been working on our strategic planning survey, and our students are about 70% of the way done. And over the next 2 weeks, we're going to get some of the rest of the students in there. We're going to have some great data to share with you. And in April, I plan to share data with everyone on our feedback on this. This will be our second year. So not only will we be able to provide raw data, but we'll be able to provide some comparison data from where we are today versus a year ago. So that's a strategic plan. Building off of that and obviously connected with it, we have all kinds of work going on, planning for the 24-25 school year. In the area of curriculum instruction, Dr. Mosier and Kim Hubert led a large group of people through our school improvement process, which really helps to lay the groundwork for curricular focus for the next year. There's all kinds of curricular planning with that. The Curriculum Council met last week, which helps to outline which areas are going to be up for review next year. That also plays into the professional development planning for 24-25. So that work is going extremely well. In addition, our 7th through 12th graders are taking part in course selections. They're picking their courses for next year, which is the first step in the staffing process for the district. By spring break, we should be in great shape on that. We should have good numbers, which will lead us into our district-wide staffing, starting with the professional staffing and then ultimately aligning with our support staff. But lining things up, and that's going to connect with the next topic, which is budget. I'm going to come back to budget in just a moment because we want to really tackle that topic in April. Facilities, I'm also going to leave that for the next slide as well, but facilities is another area that we've been working on. But we know that we had our security review. The security team continues to work. We have Officer Bell is one of our captains of our security team, and we're making really good progress as a district. We're going to have some things that are going to be coming to the board shortly, some additional investments. We'll probably give you an update on where we are with the recommendations that came from that third party. The board knows this, and I think we've been talking about the universal 4-year-old preschool. That planning is going really well. I'm looking forward to talking about that with the academic committee next week. We have a fundraising subgroup that has been working for a year on fundraising, and that group is we've piloted many things. We've put many protocols and procedures in place, and we're at the point now where we're going to want to transition and codify some of the rules into policy. So likely by the end of the day tomorrow or on Wednesday, we're going to be sharing a document with the entire policy committee that is going to be a draft of some policies that we're recommending as a starting point. And then we'll meet with the policy committee and have a chance to talk through fundraising. Obviously, heavily involved with enrollment right now. April 1st through 30th is our window for junior kindergarten through 4th grade school of choice. But we have enrollment is going extremely well so far. Lots of other work going on as well. But I have 4 areas that we're hoping to put on the agendas in April for the Board of Education. The first one, we want to talk about budget. And Mr. Jones has been working on 5-year budget projections. He has been working on building our 24-25 budget, the foundations of it based on the governor's proposal. And so on April 8th, I would like for Mr. Jones to come up here and give you some of the building blocks of the 24-25 budget planning. And then there's going to be some conversations that are going to build off of that foundation. Next up, the policy revisions. I've shared these with you in some of the reports, but Mr. Anastasov is going to talk with the policy committee one more time on this topic. And then we're going to be bringing some important policies for you all to review. The legislature changed a number of labor laws in the state of Michigan, and it does impact our policies. We have 11 policies that the policy committee looked at, was it last week or the week before, and are almost ready to come to the full board. We're going to meet one more time before that. So that's the second big one. The next area is one that it's time for the board to have heavy conversation on. And I'm recommending likely to talk about this on April 22nd would be a preference. But I want to talk about long-range planning for operations for now that the 2019 bond is coming to an end. What is next? And we have some work that's been done by Baker Tilly on bond rates and some of those variables. And I think we're going to have our Baker Tilly rep come in here to answer questions for the board and provide you information. But we need to start talking about what is next for the bond and operations. And then I just mentioned that the fundraising policy, that is something that I hope that the full board is going to be able to talk about on April 22nd. So I'll stop at that point. Are there questions from the board about any of these topics, concerns, or are these topics that are okay for us to put in for some draft agendas for April? What are your thoughts? Are these all okay? All right. And then Tyler already talked about this, but spring sports began today. The musical, I had a chance to go as well this weekend. It was fantastic. Another weekend coming up, definitely go. It was awesome. Just the talent here is really impressive. Spring break at the end of the month. When we do come back from spring break, we have a couple of days. The high schoolers will do their quarterly exams, and then April 5th will be the end of the third quarter, and we're going to be on to the final quarter of this school year, which is hard to believe. And then we do have 2 board meetings in April, so this is a great month for us. We strategically picked this because this is the time for planning for that 24-25 school year. So that's it. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Dr. Alba. All right, that concludes the superintendent report and moves us to the call to the public. This is the portion of our agenda. If there's anyone who would like to address the board, this is your opportunity to do so. You will have 3 minutes to write your comments. We'll be keeping track of the time. When there is 30 seconds left, Dr. Krebs will present the yellow card indicating that you have 30 seconds left. And when the 3 minutes is up, she will show the red card. It's not a question and answer session. It's just the opportunity for the public to address the board. It looks like there are 2 cards, so I think we have everyone that's interested in addressing the board. The first one will be Jason Ringett.
Heavenly Father, in Jesus' name, Lord, Holy Spirit, fill this room, soften everyone's hearts. Bless our school board with wisdom, discernment. It's time that we start open up our school board meetings with prayer, giving praise and glory to God, and blessing our school board, our schools. Myers, has investigations ever been held holding staff accountable for having LGBTQ safe space rainbow stickers posted up within the schools and staff giving out gender pronoun surveys to our school kids, which violates Article 1, Section 26 of the Michigan Constitution, it's unconstitutional of schools to have discrimination, give preferential treatment to certain individuals? Can this school board take the lead and fire all staff, whoever push or wants DEI effective immediately? DEI stands for discrimination, exclusion, and indoctrination. Myers, you run the school board with an iron fist. You have a very short fuse. You come unhinged very easily. You are passive aggressive and aggressive towards other school board members and parents who do not agree with you. You get triggered very easily. You and your squad run the school board like a dictatorship. Have you violated policy or the Opens Meeting Act? Any of you? Anybody say hypocrisy or hypocrites? Our 4 school board members who keep going after the 3 school board members who are always fighting nonstop for our kids' safety, education, teachers, not transparency, while you all 4 play politics and veto power, circling the wagons, protecting each other, holding kangaroo court, censoring other school board members who do not agree at the 4 with you. Just curious if any of you held kangaroo courts or held public hearings going after each other for violating student rights or breaking laws. Do you know how unprofessional and childish the 4 of you look and sound? It's embarrassing to a bright school district. Myers, since you talk about your so-called experts and brag about transparency, release all emails, communications, memos, correspondence, documents of the COVID-19 protocol, information mandates for universal masking for K through 12 that was sent by Dr. Marquez McCormick from the Health Department from August 21 to January 2022. Release all information that's listed above that was sent to the union's administrators, the COVID legal team representatives, COVID attorneys with the Brighton School District. Please post all this information onto the Brighton School website for full transparency. 21, 22, 22, some school board members voted to mask up school kids and who imposed healthy quarantines onto kids to stay home who were not even sick from attending school. Were investigations done to see if these school board members allegedly or did they not violate kids' U.S. constitutional rights, their rights on the 1st, 4th, 5th, 9th, 14th Amendments, the Guarantee Clause, federal statutes and regulations, civil rights, state laws, federal laws, and their due process to public education? Was it legal or illegal to force mask mandates and healthy quarantines on kids? The 4 board members who voted to keep the teachers union in high school, either 100% for the kids or 100% for the unions. You cannot have it both ways. Actions speak louder than words. Sure does give it appearance that you all care more about the union. We need warriors and not cowards who would stand up against the special interest groups and the unions. Board members who voted to let the union have office in the high school have a town hall meeting defending your actions, take questions from the public. Myers and his squad picks and chooses what rules and laws they want to enforce during the school board meetings. Look at the last month's meeting when he offered multiple people to speak more than once. Also, a former school board member spoke over 3 minutes. Just shows the double standard of them being hypocrites. God bless y'all. Have a great night. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Eva Hellman.
Hi, Eva Hellman, Brighton Lake Road. First of all, I want to congratulate the hockey team. My son's on the hockey team. He's a senior. They made it to the state finals, and I want to thank the board members, Bill Trombley, John Conley, and Andy Storm for helping us out and getting our locker room shipshape. It was an awesome year, and the boys really appreciated it. Secondly, I want to talk about something that I asked about back during COVID, and it was about co-op and job shadowing. And I have a private business. I do several $1 million a year. I've asked about this before. We do custom-made furniture, and it's not Chinese. It's all made right here in Wixom. We have a drapery business. We're a huge resource for job shadowing and for teaching new trades to kids. And I had mentioned it and reached out, and I never got any response. And then when I see this job shadowing and this co-op stuff offered through the hospitals and all of these things, I think, am I not qualified? What do I have to do? Because I am very, very willing to hire young people to work with them in co-op, teach them new trades. I have a family business. I raised 8 children. All have at some time or another, and actually 6 still do, work with the company business. I have 20 to 25 employees at all times. And I would love to share what we know, because there are so many kids out there that are really good with their hands. They don't even know about furniture making. They don't even know about a lot of the stuff that I do. And I would love to be able to connect with somebody here and follow through on this, because I never received responses on my emails. I was told to email back, and this was during COVID. I understand there's a lot of drama. So who do I talk to make this happen?
I just wrote a note down.
Okay.
We'll be contacting you. Thank you.
Thank you. I really appreciate it, because I have a lot to offer, and my family does, and we have great skills to teach kids, and we would love to move forward on it. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that concludes the call to the public portion of our agenda and moves us to for action. Item A, regular meeting minutes of February 12, 2024. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes as presented? Moved by Dr. Krebs. Support by Ms. Reed. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by aye. Aye. Any nays? That passes 7-0. That moves us to item B, Hilton restrooms.
It's mine.
Mr. Jones?
So as part of the first project of phase 6 of the 2019 bond project, we went out to bid to have for the general contractor to oversee the project of renovating the Hilton restrooms. The reason we're doing that one first is so we can get them done over the summer while the students are not here. So we put out an RFP. We received 4 bids at the opening. We interviewed the top 2 candidates who had the best price, which is Gordon Construction and Lakeshore Global. We interviewed them. We were actually very pleased with both of the companies, but Gordon Construction had the best bid at $527,000 as opposed to $600,000 for Lakeshore Global. So at this time, we're asking the board to approve the bid of Global Construction of $527,000 so we can enter it into a contract and get started in the project.
The recommendation is to approve Gordon, right? Gordon? Not-
Yes.
I think you said global.
Did I say global?
He did.
Gordon, I could have.
It's okay.
Gordon Construction Services. Sorry.
Okay, no worries. Just so we're all clear. All right. You've heard the recommendation. Do we have a motion to approve the bid from Gordon Construction Services as presented?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Reed. Support by Dr. Krebs. Any discussion? Mr. Storm?
Just a compliment, Mr. Jones. Appreciate you going out and getting multiple competitive bids. And it's refreshing to see that as a result of your bid activity, there's about a $400,000 spread. I'm not sure how many folks in the public read through the meeting minute pack that we have, or the board pack. But for those that haven't seen it, there's a $400,000 spread from the highest bid to the lowest bid. And I'd like to thank you for being proactive and doing that for us. So thank you.
Also, thank Jason, because
Thank you, Jason.
huge part of the work. So But thank you, I appreciate that.
Mr. Trombley.
As I mentioned, I think the last time, who's going to oversee the construction and make sure this is done correctly? Jason, is that you? Are you being paid for CA?
So,
You are?
Mr. McIntyre, would you come up here just so if anybody's watching online, they can see who's speaking? Thank you. Sorry, I don't mean to put you on the hot seat.
CA is part of your contract?
That is part of the contract. Yep.
Okay. Is that with all the projects moving forward,
Yes. Yep.
including the partitions and the other ones?
The partitions, I'd have to go back and check, but that's a drive on my way home. I'd be happy to stop by. So we did do those drawings. I'd have to check on that contract. That was more of a as needed special services contract, separate from these projects we're talking about.
Okay. Thanks.
Any other questions? All right, all those in favor signify by aye. Aye. Any nays? That passes 7-0. Okay, that moves us to item C, the dividing wall replacement for Spencer.
So
Mr. Jones?
the dividing wall at Spencer is broken. The wall itself is in good shape, but the motor's broken, so it will not close entirely. So we went out to bid for a new wall. Actually, we didn't go out for bid. Let me be more specific. We did a solicitation for quote. So that way, it's not actually an RFP. We're not required to do an RFP for work like this. And so you don't have the same rules and regulations that you have with the RFP. But we put out a solicitation for quote. We received a quote from Gardner Vos. And then right at the last minute, we got another quote from a company called Shelving and Rack Systems. But the interesting part is the folks at Shelving and Rack Systems told us they purchased the inventory of the vendor that put in the initial wall, and they thought they would have the proper parts to repair the wall. And we are waiting for them to confirm that. They want to come out again and look at the wall. So what we're asking is, our best bid is, the Gardner Vos is the best bid at $124,000. But if Shelving and Rack Systems can come in and tell us that they can repair it instead, we would like to make the approval contingent upon the fact that we review if the wall can be repaired. If it can be repaired, we will repair the wall. If not, we can accept the bid of the Gardner Vos.
Okay. So the recommendation is that we approve the Gardner Vos bid as a contingency if the repair by Shelving and Rack Systems cannot be completed. Is that correct, Mr. Jones?
Correct.
All right, so do we have a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Reed,
Support.
support by Ms. Marks. Any discussion?
So
Mr. Trombley?
the GMP won't be more than 125, right,
That is correct.
at the end of the day,
Our worst case is 124.
or 124? And then are they out of Wixom Shelving and Racking Systems? Or,
They are out of Wixom, yes.
that's what I thought, yeah.
Yes.
I looked them up a couple weeks ago. I thought that's what I thought too.
Okay, yep. Thank you.
Questions. As far as the repair goes, what is your thought on, if the repair comes in at 100,000, do we just replace the door? Not that that's what we're expecting, but where do we think this is going to end up, and where's the tipping point where we just replace the door instead?
That is a really good question because we don't have any indication what the repair will cost. Because it's my understanding it's the motor that went out, and that can be expensive. So it's not. That's all.
My next question was, how much more life do we expect to get out of the wall if we can repair the motor?
Yes, my understanding it is in good shape, and it's the motor that moves it.
That we'll get 5 years, 10 years out of the wall if we replace the motor?
fan. I don't know if Jason does. Sorry.
Those walls are bulletproof. I mean, the wall itself is pretty bulletproof. It's the motors and the mechanical systems that fail, but I mean, the wall itself should last as long as the building lasts.
Well, the problem was is the manufacturer went out of business. So nobody knew
So
that
the
they
answer to
could.
your question is no.
There's no.
Discussed at the bond committee meeting was that we wanted the board to consider this alternative tonight so that we don't lose our place in line to get a replacement door if we cannot repair it. Because I think the timing is what, 12 months out?
12 months lead time.
The other positive of doing the repair is if they have the parts, they can repair it like over spring break.
But if the door is functional, which I believe the door is functional, there's nothing wrong with the door
Correct.
or the track.
Correct.
It's the motor.
It's just the motor, yeah.
It's the motor and having one that works with this system. So I think that's everybody's hope, is that they can fix it. Today, speaking with Scott Jacobs, he said they were not able to get out there yet, but they have to come out with a lift to be able to make sure that it works. And they're hoping to do that this week. So that this motor, that their plan to fix it, that it will work.
And I certainly agree with what's been said. My personal preference in terms of the approach to this would be to maybe modify the pending motion and say that if the repairs are less than, we can pick it, 75,000 or 100,000, that's going to be the option that we're going to go with. But I mean, anything less than that is, I mean, my point is that if they come out and say, you know, because they haven't looked at it, and apparently there's still a question whether it
should be less than 10.
whatever it is, but we can give ourselves a lot of cushion, is my point, that, you know, we don't have to hold it up and we can, you know, move forward with it. And then if it turns out to be, if whatever reason they can't fix it for whatever crazy reason, that we still, that at that point, then we have the fallback. That's my only concern.
Who's going to be the determining factor whether it's good or bad, though? Because to me, you've got a partition company that would replace it, or you got somebody to replace the motor. So we go and we replace the motor. I guess back to Alicia's comment, does that last for a couple of years? But again, who's ultimately, if we approve it, which I don't mind approving, and approving it up to the maximum dollar amount, I think we should. But then I think we should have a determining factor as to what makes the most sense. And I don't think it should be up to the board to make what that determining factor is. I think it should be a professional that decides what that determining factor should be. And I don't know if that's Jason. I don't know if that's someone else that has some type of knowledge in regards to these doors. But I don't want to take a contractor's recommendation or a motor guy's recommendation, because each of them are conflicting. So I would like someone that understands these systems to make that or make that recommendation maybe to us as to what should be done, instead of us up here trying to decide what that answer is prematurely.
Do you feel that way if the repair is $10,000? I mean, does it matter how much the
Okay,
repair costs us?
what if the repair is 10,000, but is there a year warranty and it goes out after, 365 days or 66 days?
Well, that would be good to know, because then we would still have a functional door while we wait in line to get a replacement,
But here's
right?
my point, instead of spending that 10,000, why wouldn't we just replace that door as a whole, and we've got a brand new door that's gonna last another 30 years with a new motor?
Tonight, it's gonna be 10 months before we have a new door.
The
Or new
door,
wall.
the door itself is, like, the physical door is A-okay, like, there's nothing wrong with the door.
Right,
The,
right.
Right.
the electrical mechanical system that makes the door function is what's at issue.
Yep. Oh, I'm sure it will. I'm sure it will, but here's my problem with what's been said already. Supposedly, there's one company that has a motor that, because they bought the old inventory, and there's one company that has, that's perfect, but it's not as simple as going to Granger and ordering a motor. Well, who's done that yet, or who's checked into it? That's my point, thank you.
It's pretty basic. Get the motor out, see what it goes,
Has Scott or our electrician looked at that motor, Matt?
They'd have to answer that one.
This company, SFS, wants to come out, they want to come in with their electric. They want to do it.
No. I mean, I can tell you that the starting point on this whole thing was to fix it. It's fixed, regularly. There's people that come out for whatever reason, and they would have to share this with you. It couldn't be fixed this time, which is why they took us down the pathway of that we need to replace it. So.
There's an expiration, right, on this price
We're gonna ask
for an extension?
It is an
Okay.
expiration on the quote of March 15th. But we will ask for an extension.
Which one was part of the motor or
No, the new door from Fire Doors.
Yeah.
It's not.
I went to Spencer a long time ago. They didn't have a wall, but yeah. So I asked that question. It sounded like it might have been in the 90s or somewhere like that.
technically has an original part to put back on the door. It'll last just as long as it lasted the first time. Most likely. That's how long it was. This is like a ground set brakes and 50,000 miles. Shutting the cycle in and they're out. We jam them up and burn them up. Those breakers.
But we have a full-time maintenance department, we have a full-time electrician. And to me, if it's an electric motor, which everybody seems to say it's an electric motor, why hasn't our electrician looked at that electric motor and told us that that's the issue? And again, you can order motors, pretty simple, if that's what it is.
Yeah, so they're not here to answer that question, but knowing Marty and the team, Marty's always there on all of this stuff. So I guarantee you that he was there talking with the vendors and whatnot. So.
And again, once we get this replaced and we get the new door put in over at the other school, is there any kind of maintenance program for these doors that need to take place that we aren't doing?
Yeah, so whatever that is, again, maybe we have Scott or Marty here to kind of answer those type of questions, so.
I have
But-
a question. I don't know if you mentioned that it seemed like people are always out to fix it. So if we do go with the repair motor from this company that bought the equipment, do they then come out and fix it? Or do we have to go somewhere else? Because it sounds like this is a different system, this quote, right? From Gardner Bose is a different system. So kind of along Bill's question, I guess I'm wondering if we do the repair option, I think it would be worthwhile for the district to know when it breaks, if it breaks, assuming it needs maintenance, who's going to come be available if they provide that, or if there's another company that's familiar with the systems that could come out and do it.
Based on the discussion that we've had, it sounds like we've got a consensus to maybe table this, so I'd like to move that we table this motion for the next meeting.
Personally, I don't think we should table it. I think we should vote on it and get it moving forward. I'd just like some more information. If we approve it up to $125,000, at least you know we're gonna get a new door at the end of the day if something doesn't work and we don't lose our place and things continue to move.
Okay.
I mean, that's my thing.
So the pending motion is to authorize the prospect of repairing it by shelving and rack systems. There's no parameters as to what that will be, but that's, and if that is not something that will repair the wall, then we're approving up to the bid of $124,840. That's the pending motion.
I think we should stay with it.
I mean, my thought in tabling was that it sounded like we had a couple of requests for folks to look into other sources of repair if this one doesn't work out.
Well, I don't know whether it's others. My only point is to have our electrician give us the opinion, and maybe according to Matt, he probably already has, I would guess. I don't know. But again, if it's a simple electric motor, they should be able to reorder that, and we shouldn't even have to be worried about a company that's got one from the old stock. But again, I don't think we should just let it set.
But I mean, that just sounds to me like you need more information before you know whether we're going in the right direction. And I think we do need a board vote on whether we're going in the right direction, don't we?
Well, at the end of the day, it's $125,000, we get a new door. Or $124,000.
I'd rather spend it on something.
I'd rather say get repaired too.
Well, me too, don't get me wrong, I would too, but at the worst case scenario, it would be $124,000.
Right, that's difference 1 month from now. The 100 we authorized.
Fine, okay.
I mean, it puts us a month back on the order for the new door, right? But that's already out 10, 12 months.
So can't we approve it and then have someone in the meantime come back with some kind of opinion?
In Brighton, Michigan, with the amount of electricians and electrical contractors that are in this region, we should be able to have a qualified electrician examine the motors and the mechanical system on the door within 24 hours and establish, is it the motor or is it the mechanical system? I can't imagine if the door is physically the door is okay, it won't actuate. Let's have a qualified person go and inspect the electrical mechanical system, make a recommendation to the team and move forward.
I apologize. I'm just confused on what it is we're supposed to be doing here then. I mean, if we want to repair this, we don't need the board vote to repair
I
that. We
agree.
only need the board vote if we want to authorize the
We have
purchase of a new
regular
wall
maintenance
system.
that occurs in the district every day of the week.
Right.
I agree with you.
So,
Unlimited cash, you can do whatever you want, just say you want to do it.
Well, the purpose of this, bringing it forward, is the contingency for right, that we would approve this bid as a contingency if it can't be repaired.
But I think-
I mean, that's what we,
Speaking for myself, prior to making that recommendation to the board, the district standard maintenance process should be followed where someone who would, if that door isn't functioning over there, someone would be dispatched to look at it, same principle, right? And then after establishing, can we fix the door or does the door need to be replaced? Then a recommendation to go back to the board if it needs to be replaced.
before it came to the bond committee?
Yes.
Assess the door, or the wall.
Obviously, it starts with our maintenance department. They're the first one. Something breaks, that's where it begins, is with our staff. They assess it. They determined that they needed to bring in experts. The experts came in. Obviously, there's lots of process. Scott Jacobs, if he was here, he'd be able to answer all these questions. But that's where everything begins. And they've gone through all of this process, and they've gotten to this point where it needed to be replaced for whatever reason, and went out and got the bids. And then at the end, somebody came in and said, actually, I think we might be able to fix this. They still don't know if they can or not. They have to come out and take a look at it. That's where we're at right now. So The reality is that you're not going to replace this. It's going to have to be at a time when we're out of school. It's either going to be spring break next year, or if we do a 10, 12 month, or it's going to be during the summer. It's going to be one of those two windows. So, if it takes 12 months to get here, it's going to be April of next year. And the last door was supposed to be here in December, and it's still not here. So it's going to be a summer project. So these have a lot of lead time on them. So, but summer of, what would that be? Summer of 25. So that's likely when this would be taken care of if we can't fix it.
Yeah, I still think we should table it.
All right, so we have a motion to table, support. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor of tabling this issue signify by aye.
Aye.
Any nays?
Nay.
That passes 6-1. And in the meantime, we will hopefully have an answer next month.
Hopefully by the end of the week would be lovely. So.
All right, that closes the for action portion of our agenda and moves us to the for future action, item A, Troon policies. Mr. Anastasov, is that you or Ms. Reed?
Mr. Anastasov, you got a microphone? Yep.
All right, so last Tuesday, the policy committee didn't meet. We looked over, just as Dr. Outlaw said, the 11 different policies that Troon is recommending mid-year. I explained to the committee, it can be sometimes an odd time for them to recommend policies. It's usually done at the end of the year. The reason why they're recommending them at this time is because, as many of you know, the legislation in Michigan changed multiple laws when it came to different union relations or labor relations. And so a lot of our prohibitive subjects used to be prohibited for about a dozen years or more are no longer prohibited. So what these changes are is they're taking a look at changing our policy language to allow those policies to potentially be negotiated in the future, but they're not changing currently the stance of those policies at this point. So we did take a look at them. 9 of them we were pretty happy with. The other 2 we had questions at this point. So we decided that we're going to look into those 2. We will meet as a policy committee again between now and April 8th. And so our goal is to bring these for action again on April 8th, because our goal is to try to then
For future action.
For future action.
Yep.
Yeah, sorry, for future action. Because our goal is then to bring them as a package and then hopefully then for action on April 22nd.
Yep, so you've got the summary that Troon prepared was part of the board packet. For the next one, after we get answers to some of the questions we had about the language, you'll see the full text of what Troon is recommending that we adopt. When we went through it as the policy committee, everything was very tightly tied to the legislative changes. So we weren't at that time recommending anything different than what Troon has in there. The administration was making some recommendations based on options that Troon had proposed in their revisions, kind of like we used to see with the Neola stuff. In some places, there are options that for different paths that we can take. So when you get the document in the red line or close to a red line version, it'll be pretty clear to you which things are options that the administration is recommending and which things Troon is saying we really don't have a whole lot of choice on.
So just for clarification, next meeting, this is going to still be for future action?
That's
We won't
correct.
be voting for it until the 22nd.
Yep,
So
you'll see the
8th.
actual language.
Thank you.
Okay, that concludes the policies portion. Item B, BHS cafeteria flooring. Mr. Jones or?
Nope, I got this one too. We are getting down the home stretch on our project to replace the flooring of the high school cafeteria. So we have gone out and requested bids. We put out 5 requests. We've received 4 of the 5 responses from 4 of the 5 vendors, and Richard Browder has gone ahead and is working on submitting the application to the state, because you do have to get approval to replace flooring in the cafeteria from the state. So he's filled out the application for that. The last step of the application is you got to attach your quotes. So as soon as we get that last quote, we'll be able to actually submit the application. So just for future action, hopefully at the next board meeting, we'll be bringing to you a recommendation as to which vendor we want to go with.
Was there ever any testing out in the addition portion of the cafeteria to see why that flooring was acting the way it was? I remember when I was still part of the bond committee, I had asked that we get that tested to see why that flooring continued to peel, because obviously it was different compared to the rest of the flooring. And that's really the issue, in my opinion, in regards to that flooring. Has that ever been done?
Let me check with our,
I don't mean someone going there with a moisture meter like I was told that
No,
Scott recommended.
so I know we talked about that at a previous meeting. Let me check on it. I'll get back with you on that and let you
Because
know.
again, if that's the case, in my opinion, that entire addition area would need to come up and it be reported if the concrete's faulty underneath there, or if there's a water problem.
Okay, we'll get back with you on that.
As the best quote right now is just over $173,000. It's not closed, we have to receive one. I didn't have to. Oh, I hear what you say.
Okay, thank you.
And just so, to remind everyone, the funding for this is going to be from the surplus that we have to spend,
Yes.
right, from food services, correct? So then that's why the state has to approve it. Do we have any idea, Mr. Jones, regarding the timing of that?
I don't have that. I do know that we have to submit our plan to the state, how we're gonna spend the surplus by the beginning of next month, but I have no idea how they will respond back.
Well, again, going back to the reason I'm asking to have it tested is because I don't want to open a can of worms here that's going to be so costly that it's not going to make sense to do. We might as well just leave it alone and let it the way it is if that's the case. So that's something that should happen real quick in my opinion.
Yeah, well, and and one of the things we did talk about at the bond is that looking forward from a projection standpoint, we are, as I understand it, there's going to be actually even a greater amount of surplus funds next year that we will have to spend from food services compared to this year. Is that correct?
If that would be my estimate right now because of the additional funding, because the state is now paying for all meals.
Right.
Regardless of need or not.
And so getting back to your point.
Well, I'm going to the point, if the concrete and stuff has to be tore up and redone and some type of drainage needs to put in under there, I'm not so sure that'd be covered under that money.
That is correct. That's what I was just gonna add to. That may not be something that's allowable. Because there.
Well, that's what, I mean, again, it comes back to, once we understand what the scope of what we need, whatever the state will approve, if it ends up being more, it may be something that we move to the next year if we have more funding. I'm just, so, okay. All right. Jones, that concludes the for future action portion of our agenda. Moves us to board committee chair reports. Ms. Reed, you want to start off?
I will go ahead. The policy committee met last week, and we talked through the TRUN policy changes that we already talked about, and started talking a little bit about the plan for the fundraising policy updates that Dr. Outlaw mentioned during the superintendent report. There's definitely still work to do there. We'll see the recommendations from the administration. And I think we want to make sure that the policy updates that we bring to the board also cover vendors and other third parties that might be on campus when we have fundraising activities. So we want to make sure that we've got alignment between our existing facility policies and procedures and the fundraising policies and procedures. That's not something we've talked about here at the board table, so I just wanted to throw that out and see if there were any recommendations or thoughts on the direction that we want the administration to go with their drafting or the committee to go with their inquiry. I'm thinking that we don't really want the board involved in that, but we want to make sure that the policies and procedures that we're asking folks to follow when they're on our campus align with our expectations for fairness and for, liability protections, those types of normal things that you cover when people are on your property. Nothing too elaborate, but definitely I think important, and I don't think we've talked about that in a long time, at least not since the last time we did manuscript updates to like facilities policy under the Neola days. That was a long time ago. That was my first stint on the policy committee. So I don't know. Any concerns? I mean, you guys are obviously going to see everything that we come up with, but.
Whatever you believe is the appropriate course to.
We're leaning on the administration for that, so it's not, yeah. But, okay. We'll certainly let the policy committee know if you think of anything that we need to tackle. Thanks.
All right. We had a bond committee meeting last week. In addition to the items that have been discussed this evening already regarding the Hilton bids, the dividing wall, and the cafeteria flooring, we reviewed the status of the construction improvements that are going to be undertaken in this building. There's basically three components to that. There's what we call the east wing improvements to this building, the classrooms in particular. There's the HVAC improvements, and then there's the fire alarm replacement. The funding for those, the east wing and the back fire alarm replacements are going to be funded through the contingency dollars from the bond. And the HVAC replacement is going to be expenditures from, or going to be funded through the 11T dollars, the grant funding. So they're broken up in that fashion. And then they each have a little bit of differentiation as far as the process for the ultimate approval and the bidding. Jason is here this evening. He reviewed with us the status. They're being submitted for state review. Once that process is completed, it'll eventually go out to bid. The hope and plan is that it will be on the board for future action on the April 8th, and then potentially for action on April 22nd. We also talked about the bond, the remaining balance in the contingency from the bond is about $1.1 million. That does not include what will ultimately be what will be needed to pay for the Beck East Wing and the Beck fire alarm replacement. So those projects will be paid for from that contingency fund. It's the expectation that they're going to be within that budget or within that remaining balance, and there may actually even be some additional funds. But we're nearing the end. There aren't many dollars left, but I think one thing that as a district we should be very proud of is the fact that we have squeezed a lot of projects that weren't part of the original scope in the bond application that were paid for by the contingency dollars and have really benefited the district tremendously in the added value and the facilities. And it ultimately, obviously, is something that is going to be very beneficial long-term for the district. The other thing that we talked about briefly is going to be discussed further and is really part of the broader discussion that Dr. Outlaw referenced at the beginning of the meeting regarding our long-range operational planning process in terms of facilities that we and capital improvements we may want to do. And a couple of the items that we talked about are, number one is the preschool expansion of the facilities. We're going to have a much more robust discussion about that in future bond meetings, and eventually that will need to come to the board as far as the long-term planning and what the state is pushing forward, and how that impacts our facilities and operations. And then in addition to that, we talked about the prospect of potentially adding a cafeteria at Horning and Spencer, and as opposed to using the gymnasiums as a designated or as a dual purpose gymnasium and cafeteria. Those are a couple of additional items that, again, we're just having some preliminary discussions, but are ultimately part of the overall conversation that we as a board need to have regarding the long-term facilities and operational planning. So pretty much does it for the.
Is the windows for back in this package, all of the window replacement and back?
Yes, and I apologize. I referenced HVAC, and it's actually the window. It's the window work that's going to be done as well, and that's part of the 11T funding.
And the bathrooms and the first floor corridors for the preparation of preschool, anything being done there yet?
For the east wing, as I understand. Is that right, Jason? All of the east wings are going, and the only thing that isn't part of that scope, as I understand, are the bathrooms that are in this first floor.
Okay.
That frankly, as part of our conversation, once we get the bids back for the east wing and the fire alarm, we think it would be the prudent course of action to use to finish off back.
Are those on an alternate? Are those out for?
They're not.
Okay.
So, but if to the extent that we have, remaining contingency dollars, it would probably make sense just to get those and hopefully even add those on to the work that's already being done at the east wing.
Does the HVAC system and renovations include air conditioning in the gym?
No. If you could just hit the thing real quick. Thank you.
Thank you for reminding me. Board reports, we don't have them anymore on our agenda.
Yeah, that's what we added that. That was what Ms. Reed added.
Well, she did board committee, but is that still board reports, so I can report like on robotics and stuff? Is that
Sure.
Is that gonna be a standard thing? No, we'll have board reports at the end still.
Yes.
So anyway, got the robotics bill and I went over on Saturday, and they toughed it out really good, and they wound up, it's either second or third overall. Second, yeah, it was up for a little debate there, students and final scoring, but a really nice program for the students. They did a nice job, and they were at the halfway point. They were maybe in the halfway of a group, and then they really cranked it up for Saturday, and they did well. And their next meet is in Mason in 2 weeks, and then providing the points are accumulated at the level they need them, they'll go on to the state championship for the state. And the way this is heading, it's a good possibility, but things have to go right.
Championship, John?
I don't have the date of that. It's in Saginaw Valley. It'll be, a few weeks after, maybe a month after this final meet.
They're ranked 32nd out of 500
right now.
in the state.
So they're doing well.
Great.
So really good start. Thank you.
All right, that concludes all items on our agenda this evening. Our next meeting is Monday, April 8th at 7 p.m., which will be after spring break. Hope everyone has a very happy and well-deserved spring break and safe travels wherever your destination may take you. This meeting is adjourned.